Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So I had a few requests to do a video about directions and facings in ballet, and I know that as a beginner they can be quite confusing because in ballet you do tend to change direction quite a lot, and there are different French words which go with those things. So I thought I would break down some of the most basic ones today and just kind of explain the body positions and the facings and the different directions. So I really hope you guys find this helpful, and let's just get straight into the video. So the positions I'm going to talk about today are really for centre practice. Usually at the bar we're mainly on fast, which is facing forward, although sometimes that might change, but most of the time we're on fast. But in the centre we tend to use a lot of different facings and positions. So let's start with on fast in the centre, which is facing the audience, or in this case the mirrors. So for example, if I'm in first position on fast, for example, to start a jump sequence, then this is going to be my position. Hips, shoulders and head are all looking towards the front. And on fast is a very common position for things like small jumps, for petit allegro, although when it gets a bit more advanced you do change the body direction, but quite often you'll start facing on fast for small jumps and for petit allegro. So now let's look at a position called CROISÉ. So there are two CROISÉ positions, one with my right foot devant and one with my left foot devant. So as you can see, this is me kind of facing the diagonal. Now something that's really important for all of these positions is going to be that you know where your diagonal is. So it's not the diagonal of the room. I don't want to just look at the corner of this room because that's the corner there, and you see this is too far round to the side. So what you want to think of is a square around you, and my diagonal is going to be to the front corner of my square, not a rectangle like the room, but my square. So in that case it's going to be about here. So in a CROISÉ position, remember that we need to be able to see both hip bones, so we don't want this happening because then you can't see this one. So it needs to be here. Also remember that you can have a épaulement of the torso. So if I'm just pure CROISÉ, then this is my position. Hips, shoulders and head that way. Although quite often in CROISÉ you may be looking towards the front or even to the other diagonal. However, quite often in CROISÉ we will have a slight épaulement towards the front. So for example, if I'm doing tendus in CROISÉ, this might be the position of my torso. So it's not exactly straight. I am going slightly more towards the audience. And again, that is exactly the same on the left side. So here is me perfectly CROISÉ, but this is quite often going to be the position you're going to want to look for. Slightly more towards the front. And obviously from this position we can start many different things. So this is CROISÉ in fifth position, left foot devant. As I said before, we also have right foot devant. We also can start in preparatory position, for example. This is still CROISÉ because my front leg is crossed in front of my back leg. So this is the crossed position, CROISÉ. So we can also start here or also elongated. So the feature of the CROISÉ position is having the front leg crossed in front of the back leg. So of course from CROISÉ we can tendu devant and we can also tendu derrière, but you can see that even when I do derrière it's still crossed behind. And then we have EFFACÉ. So EFFACÉ uses the same diagonals as CROISÉ, but we have the other foot in front. So it's an open position. So instead of having my right foot in front, if I'm facing this diagonal, I'm going to have my left foot. As you can see, it's an open position because if I tendu there, it's open, it's not crossed. So this is going to be our EFFACÉ, and then of course it's exactly the same on the other side. If I tendu, it's an open position. And the same thing with EFFACÉ, I can tendu devant and I can also tendu derrière. But in both cases, there's no crossing of my legs. So in a tendu exercise, you may have a combination of all three directions. So remember, if you're starting in CROISÉ, for example, maybe we're here, we do, imagine 2 to the front, 2 to the back, and then imagine from here we're going to open to en face. And then we might have 2 à la seconde, en face. And then maybe we're going to go EFFACÉ. So just remember that it is possible have various different directions within the same exercise, so you need to be really, really clear about your directions. I think the biggest mistake that I see people making with the directions is going too far profile. So if I'm doing a CROISÉ, sometimes I see people like this. We should never be able to see this. It should always be, as I said before, the two hip bones. And that's not just in CROISÉ, also in EFFACÉ, the same thing can happen. For example, imagine we're doing an arabesque, I quite often see people profile. Now, that's a different position. It's not as common to use profile. Usually we're going to be CROISÉ en face or EFFACÉ. However, it does exist in some choreographies, but usually in your class, if it's like a pure classical technique, it's not as likely that they're going to have something really profile. So just check, maybe it is, but if it's supposed to be to the diagonal, make sure that it is to the diagonal. So the other two positions that I want to talk about are écarté devant and écarté derrière. So these two are probably more intermediate advanced. So if you're really a beginner, don't worry too much about these. But if you've already got quite a good idea of the other three that I've already talked about, then we can move on to looking at the écarté. So for écarté devant with my right leg, I'm going to actually start in CROISÉ. And I'm going to open à la seconde, but this is my écarté devant line. So there's an elongation here. There's a slight angling of the shoulders upwards, and my head also goes towards the top corner. Écarté derrière is kind of the opposite of that. So I'm going to take out my back leg to à la seconde in CROISÉ. This is how I think about it. If it doesn't make sense to think of it from CROISÉ, then just think of it as écarté. But for me, it kind of helps me to think I'm in CROISÉ, and then écarté derrière is going to be à la seconde, but with my back foot. And this time, again, same arm as working leg, but this time we're going to have a slight inclination downwards. So that's going to be our écarté derrière. And that's the tendu. Of course, you can also have grand battement or something like that on the écarté line, but make sure that you're not on fast, because I think that sometimes gets confused. Seconde en fast is going to be this, but our écarté line is to the diagonal, and also it has this épaulement of lengthening here to give this line. And then again, the opposite to the back, with an elongating of this side this time. So of course there are many more positions in ballet, but I think we can start with those ones for now, because those really are the basics of a lot of exercises. So now I want to move on to talking about the numbers of the different directions, and there are different schools on this. So there are 3 different schools, I think, that use a different way of numbering the facings. I'm just going to talk about 2 today. So I'll start with the Russian method. And in the Russian method, number 1 is your audience. Number 2 is the first corner. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So there are kind of 8 different directions that we can face, and that is how the Russians number it. So for example, instead of saying CROISÉ with right foot devant, what a teacher might say is CROISÉ facing number 8. So if I have to face number 8, there's only one position that's CROISÉ, and it's this one. This is going to be EFFACÉ, remember. So sometimes you might just be given the direction and then the position. They might not specify what foot is going to be in front. Now, the method that I'm more common with, because last year in 2018 I just did the Royal Academy of Dance Intermediate exam, so obviously the Royal Academy of Dance facings are the ones that I'm most familiar with at the moment. So those are 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we go to the diagonals, and we go from 4 to 5, 6, 7, and 8. So we do kind of the flat ones first, and then the corners. As I said before, we go from 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5 is the next corner, 6, 7, 8. So I just wanted to let you know about those. I know that they're sometimes not that common for teachers to use, but if you do go to a drop-in class with a different teacher or something and they start saying numbers and you're like, what? What are these numbers about? Then hopefully this will help you. You can have an idea. But basically, in any method, there's also concerti, I think, that do slightly different numbering. But the one thing that they all have in common is that number 1 is here. So number 1 is always directly facing your audience or the mirror. So I really hope that was helpful, guys. As always, if you have any video requests or any questions, please leave them in the comments and I will get back to you, and I hope to see you back in my next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.